Al, you saw his shots yesterday. That probably answers your question. I mean, that's been the struggle with him. Is he holds the ball up really well. He's a pretty awful shooter of the ball. Now I don't think so, but
okay,
that's just me.
All right,
Davie, what do you think? What do you think of Dembele?
Well, whenever he's first signed for Fulham, that's what he was, a striker. I can't remember who Fulham got him from, but he came as a centre forward, and obviously his game progressed into like the number 10 position. But I think playing him further forward is definitely that's his place to play, because when he played for Fulham, he was dangerous in that position. Now that's the last 2 games. I think he's been fairly good, and I think he came on against Swansea, and he kind of changed the tempo of the game that day as well. As far as putting him, if we do loan out Adebayor or Soldado, I just don't think he's the answer just yet. And I don't really like trying to accommodate people. I think the best players should play in their best positions. So, for me, Eriksen should always be, the furthest forward, just lying behind Harry Kane. So I would like to see Dembele pushed more forward than what he normally is. I just don't think that deep lying, holding midfielder role suits him. I just don't think it gives us enough in that position. But as I say, he originally came as a striker. If I was going to play him against Arsenal as a striker, I just would be a wee bit concerned about it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. He actually came from RZ, was before Fulham, and that's the club he made the most appearances. He's actually now with us. That's his second most appearances. I do like Dembele. What I like that he brings to the side is his physical. He's very hard to dispossess, and I think he can create a lot of moves further up the pitch. I think you saw that yesterday with the assist on Kane's goal, which was just phenomenal. And I think he can do more of that if he gets that consistent run in the side. There are games he just does disappear, unfortunately, but I think he has he's risen up the pecking order in the last few weeks, and if he continues to do what he does, I like that. But I love the way when he's on the ball, very hard to dispossess. He keeps the ball at his feet, and then he can get it to somebody that can make the impact on the final third.
Yeah, I think his performance will be key in our success next weekend for that reason that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I think going into next weekend, and let's go ahead and just get into it. It's North London Derby time.
Woohoo!
We're in the league. We're in the League Cup final. We beat West Brom, but let's talk about why the hell we're here. It is North London Derby time, and there is a certain someone in my ear that's going to be heading that way midweek. Yes.
Can't wait. Of all the ones that I've been to, this is the one that I feel the best about. I think I'm going to be coming back with 3 points. I really do.
I hope
Cannot
so.
wait.
I want you to blog it, man. I'm serious.
Cannot wait. I am looking at our flag. I posted it this morning, and I put it up, Chairman. I hope you don't mind. So it's hung in my office here, and I'm going to get to the grounds early. I've got to figure out. We're going to try and figure out this week what we need to do to clear it, and hopefully we'll have it hung somewhere at White Hart Lane. I'm sitting in the Paxton in the lower. I think I'm block. What am I? Block 21, I think. Me and 2 other guys from the area. So I just cannot wait. Cannot wait till Thursday.
Sorry, can I just jump in here 1 second? Sorry, it's been 66 minutes, and I will now apologise, but I wanted to be the first. I wanted to be the first one. I fucking hate them. I absolutely fucking hate them.
It's taken us an hour to drop.
What happens when I don't drink?
Well restrained, guys. Well restrained.
Why do you hate them, Davie? Why do you hate them?
I just hate everything. You see, people say, people from Ireland and stuff don't get it that much, and people say, why do you hate them so much? And it's very difficult to try and tell somebody that doesn't understand. Yeah. But the way that I would put it across, I've been to a party after a pub, and I've been maybe in a kitchen of someone's house having a conversation with the nicest bloke you could ever possibly meet, and he's pouring me drink and he's just fantastic. And then we talk about football, and he could be my best friend. Then he mentions he supports Arsenal. I'll walk away. I just do not have time for them. I think the fans are all hypocrites.
Yeah. They're delusional, for sure.
Delusional, but I think what really coming from Ireland and not being brought up around N17 or London, I was aware that we were rivals with Arsenal, and in the 1991 FA Cup semi-final, I went to Wembley to watch it, and I was with my stepfather, and we were coming back from the ground from Wembley at the end of the game, and I witnessed an elderly Spurs fan who was basically getting he got jumped on by a few Arsenal fans, and that really stuck in my head. And it was only then that I was fully aware of what it meant to. It was in the DNA to hate them, and I fully understood then. I just cannot. I don't like the colour red. I never use JVC. I never fly with Emirates. Anything about them.
You were never a Nike man?
Never.
Not yet.
Never a Nike. Well, maybe in 2017, maybe, but no. I just, there's something in me. If I see an Arsenal top, I feel physically sick, and my girlfriend, she gets annoyed whenever we go shopping, and I'll see somebody coming wearing an Arsenal top, and I'll sort of be can't. I'll kind of make a reference to them, and she cracks up. So I just don't like them. I never will. I just can't say anything nice about them.
I can't either. Even I hope you guys get a chance to go back and listen to this one, or go back and listen to the episode with Julie or any others that you choose. In the intro, I have a little spot in there that says, "I hate Arsenal. I just hate them," and I do. I cannot stand them. I love the North London derby matches at the pub. There's a lot of English or Irish or what have you, Euro style pubs here in the Metroplex, and every one of them seems to have or be the Chelsea base, or Blue Moon Dallas is up at the Londoner and up in Frisco, so the city people go there. Arsenal have their own pub and all that stuff, but at Trinity Hall, it's become our home base, but there are still a good 15 or so Arsenal supporters that'll show up and try to bang with our 100 or so Spurs supporters that are in that pub. We ought to video the event, because it can get heated. We've actually had to have the owner Marius step in between us and say, "Hey, you got to calm your guys down, man. There's about to be a brawl in here," because it gets to that point. You start shouting, "Shall we sing a song for you?" Because they never do. You want to talk about library attendance? That's what they are when they show up until they score. Then you'll hear from them. But we out-sing them, out-chant them.
Outnumber
them easily every single week in that pub, and we even had that one Muppet that showed up just to try to watch us lose. What was it? Chelsea? Was it Chelsea?
Yeah, no. It was 2 weeks ago. We eked out last minute win, didn't we? Ericsson. Who was that? No, it wasn't Leicester.
I don't remember. Anyway, this guy shows up and he's boots away from full kit wanker. He's wearing the shorts, the shirt, the socks.
Yeah,
remember that guy, Simon?
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh
That
my
was the
goodness.
Sunderland game.
It was Sunderland. Yeah.
So they come just to watch us lose. They didn't even play that day, and there's Arsenal fans showing up just to see if we'll lose. Fucking can't stand them.
So, Rob.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
How do you?
Oh well, my the older I get, the more I hate them. No,
I'm glad you said that. I thought it was going to go the other way.
I don't care anymore. Yeah.
Davie knows exactly how I feel, and it's very similar to him. But your rational brain tries to. There's enough hatred in the world. Sorry to spout. There is, but I'm all for equality and everything like that. But when it comes to them, it's a completely different, irrational thing. And you know, I was brought up in North London, so I've had years and years of them sticking whatever they've won, you know, up into my face. And same as, you know, I cycle to work. I cycle from North London into the centre of town most days, and I have to cycle through Highbury and through Islington. And like Davie, whenever they've lost, I will cycle. And it's almost like a Tourette's thing, where I'll actually I'll cycle past people in the loudest voice. I'll shout 2-0, 4-0. And I'm just surprised I've not been involved in many fights like that. But you know, it is very easy as a Spurs fan to identify that the fact that hello.
Yeah, you're here.
Oh God, you know, they shouldn't even be in this part of London. That's where it all stems from. You know, effectively they're a bunch of pikeys that turned up in the 12, very wealthy pikeys that turned up in the 20s, and or slightly sorry, and you know, they just shouldn't be here. If you're at somebody else's house, you respect the place, so you don't. Yeah. Anyway,
wandering wankers of Woolwich. That's basically all they are.
Was one of my favorite chapters in Julie's book. I thought she did a fantastic job of speaking to the dark arts of Henry Norris, and you know, which is really the crap foundation of that club and what brought them across the river.
You know, you go back to your history growing up, and I used to live in Stoke Newington and Lordship Park, and even then, and I hadn't picked a club at that age, I was probably 5 or 6, I didn't know a football from a golf ball, but I would see all these people with red and white scarves walking down past my house, and I could hear some noise building in the distance, and you know, I later got informed who that was, and it didn't enamor me one bit. My grandfather was an Arsenal fan, and you know, he's passed away many years ago. He never ever tried to persuade me. He was the only footballing fan in our family who's never ever persuaded me to join them, so I always respect him for that and love him for that. And obviously I made my choice later on in life, and he still, you know, didn't give me a hard time, and we would have some friendly banter. I do remember vividly 1978, Liam Brady tore us apart at White Hart Lane when they won 5-0, and we watched that together. That was painful. But yeah, I've hated them, absolutely loathe them. I hate the colour red. You're right, Davie. JVC, I remember back when they wore that on their shirts, we had a boombox in the house. I wouldn't touch it. And my wife says, yeah, we should really go to Dubai and we should fly Emirates. I said, no, I'll walk. I am not flying on that.
Oh, that's great.
I've heard that story before. Simon does fly transcontinentally quite often, and I will never fly on that airline. I won't.
I remember getting off the plane and switching on my phone, and the carrier is O2. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I turned my phone off. You cannot reach me.
Can I just one of my major claims to fame, and I think I'm possibly one of the very few people that can say this, is in 1970, whatever it was, 73, I think, 74, when Dave Mackay used to take me to, I was saying earlier, when I used to go to London games, I went to the Arsenal game. In fact, I went to 2 Arsenal games, 2 seasons running, and I always used to get taken up to the director's tea room or whatever, and I would get introduced to the great and the good of football. And I when I was a kid, 9 years old, getting introduced to Bertie Mee, who was the Arsenal manager when they won whatever they won. I can't even talk about it, but in 1970-71. So anyway, Bertie Mee, with these, I used to get introduced as John White's son, and having this conversation with me, and Bertie Mee says, "Oh, do you like football?" And I said, "Yeah, I play for the school team." And he said, "If you're interested," he said, "get your mum to phone up, or my secretary," he said, "and we can arrange for you to, come down and start training with the juniors down here." And I looked at him as a 9-year-old could. Only a 9-year-old would be able to, and I said, "No, I don't support Arsenal, so I don't think I'd like that."
Oh, hang on.
So I've actually turned down Arsenal.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's clapworthy.
That is excellent. I mean, you're 9 and you just got offered. Hey, come train with us over at our facility, and fuck off. No, I'm not going to touch you. Yeah, that's basically what that was, and he knew it. Coming from out of mouths of babes, you will hear the truth. I don't support you.
Rob's the Harry Kane. Rob's the new Harry Kane. He's one of our own.
You know what? I've got the same picture evidence that Kane's got, unfortunately, but that's another story. But